Hey folks, it's Ben. We're here with the actual maintenance and show you how video for our Troy-Bilt Sickle barn mower. Now I'm very familiar with how internal combustion engines work. That's no big deal, and we'll do some maintenance on that as well. And then we'll also come take a look at how this sickle bar assembly works and what parts do we need to pay attention to. If you look around on the internet, you can find yourself the actual owner's manual for it. And that's what we have here, and it has some tips and tricks and what to do in regards to some of the cool things. And like I was wondering, like with the teeth, how do they work, right? These are oil points technically. And I'm like, but I think I'd like to soak the whole thing in WD-40 just because it works by, and I have it engaged, is see how that top bar obviously moves back and forth? And that's the cutting action of the machine itself, is that back and forth of those saw teeth essentially. So we'll just leave it like so for now so you can see them all. Some of these are damaged a little bit, which, you know, I'm not going to say to be expected, but it is a thing. But they also show you how to sharpen them. So we'll likely do that come fall. For now, we'll just use it as is. But these will technically should be sharp. They're actually not bad, and some of them are serrated, so I'm not exactly sure if that's a good thing or bad thing to do. But we've got to change the oil, and then we've got to do a little poking around on the inside here underneath, and we'll kind of, I guess we'll put it up on our belly a little bit. There's an eccentric bearing in there that I want to take a good look at and see how it is. That's pretty much the guy that moves this back and forth. It's a wheel that spins, and it's got a little wheel, and it kicks an arm back and forth, and it, through bearings, makes it jump around and stuff. We'll put it on its maximum height, and then I got a field we're going to do. So I'll time lapse you for that. We'll do a close-up on how it does its thing, and then we'll go ahead and do time lapse of mowing down a field. For the oil change, what I've done is I've elevated the machine. So I threw the front end on a very thick cardboard box. I've got a jack stand in the back. So we've got ourselves a little height here. Per the motor on the side here, it says drain location, refer to owner's manual. But long story short, there's a hole right there. This is a lawnmower engine. It really looks like one. So what you can do is take your 3/8 inch drive ratchet extension I use. And this extension will fit in your plug. And you go up into the hole here and you lock it into your drain nut, or yeah, your drain bolt essentially, and you loosen it. And then from that point on, I think I'm just going to use my fingers from the side. It's loose now. It'll start dripping on me, and then I'll just get out of the way. Yep, there she goes. So we'll get rid of that black stuff. Shouldn't be much. While we let the oil finish dripping, I'm going to go ahead and open the gas here. That's not a brilliant design, really. We'll open the gas, and we're going to take I've got an empty fuel jug here. I pre-mix my seafoam and gas in these little water bottles. It seems to work out just fine. And I'm going to take a turkey baster, which is my best form of suction, and we're just going to... Interesting. Oh, it's a farm gas, it looks like. And probably without the camera, because I can get the top of the bottle closer, transfer this gasoline into this one. We'll throw it in a tractor or something, burn it off that way. But for our nice little track motor here, to our very independent machine, we'll put fresh gas and a ton of seafoam in it. Old oil isn't going to tell me a whole lot about the motor because I don't know how long it's been in there. If it's been in there for an hour's use, well, this is bad. But if it's been there since it's been new... So here's my drain plug, which is literally just a plug. And here's my little 3/8 extension, which, as you see, fits right in there. So we'll go put this back up inside the mower. And so we'll have no oil in it. And I just got the rest of the gas out. I don't know how old it is, and I can't tell because it's farmer gas, which means it's been dyed. Means whoever put fuel in this was paying less taxes on it than most people. So it's actually dyed red so that it's not used in on-road vehicles. It's only used in farm equipment. So, but I don't know if it's ambered because it's old. It smells okay, but yeah, we'll put fresh stuff in. Putting the plug in is kind of an eyeball affair. Just kind of see, get it up on in there, and then just kind of be gentle with it. Checking the air filter is going to be easy. You have your access panel here. flathead screw. It's probably also a hex nut size. We're gonna look for mices and all the bad stuff and see how bad this filter is. We'll probably order a new one for it, just cause. For now, there we go. Here we go, and yeah, it's actually pretty bad. It'll do for what we're gonna be doing, but I'll grab a model number off of this and I'll put it in the notes. But I'm gonna look up the model number and get the consumables required. It almost looks like it doesn't fit, but it actually does. But nothing, nothing crazy here. There's the jet and all the fun stuff. The bowl is here. Now I've been really debating. You can actually take this plate off, which actually is probably holding the whole carburetor up, and this one here. But I've been debating dropping the bowl or not. I think I'm not going to until I get a carburetor kit for it, if I need to. And the reason for that is if I rip those gaskets, then I'm hosed. Then my bowl will constantly leak and it won't be in a happy place. So let's just forego that at the moment. But if you wanted to get to the bowl, it is right there. And probably just, well, traditionally they've been like a 7 mil or a 10 mil. Not, you'd have to find out the specific size for your needs. But for the purposes that it's running and running fairly good, and we're going to be cranking the seafoam to it, that'll take out any water and dissolve any dissolvables in there. And probably end of season we might, once we get a rebuild kit for the carburetor, we'll have those rings and we can drop the bowl and give it a good cleaning, but I'm not going to do that until then. Next we've got spark plug. Now in the manual every other word is unplug the spark plug, because they really don't want you having this. There's no like safety device to keep it from cutting you up. But let's go ahead and just get a new, put a wrench on this and see how our spark plug's doing. Broke it free with a 13/16 ratchet. It was not on there excessively tight, so that's good news. That means whoever was working on it kind of knew what they were doing, because spark plugs typically don't go in that tight. It's a flathead motor, so she's pretty durable, as long as you treat it right. Pulling the plug, and I'm guessing it's a no. Yep, everything seems to be peachy. There we go. Everything seems to be fine. It's a little greasy, but lack of runtime will do that. Let's go check the gap, make sure it's 30 thousandths, and we'll put it back in. I don't see any reason to change it yet until I actually get a new one. I got some used ones, but this is probably as good as any of those are. Gap is good. So I tweaked it closed a little bit. It's probably around 32, which is not a lot out of spec. So we'll put that back in, give it a tweak to the tight once it sits, and we're good on that side of it. I think after this, we're gonna spend some attention to the mower blades here and see what we need to do with that. But really changing the engine oil, that's what we're in the middle of right now. Don't forget we need to put oil in that. And then every operating hours, put a drop or two of general purpose oil on the hold down clips. And that's on 510. So in image 510, it's actually going to show us these bars here. So this is an actual component that doesn't move. So this bar that it slides on doesn't move, and these don't move. But for some reason, these are a wear point. So they want us to oil these components to the bar, so we'll do that. I'm actually going to coat the whole thing in WD-40 for now. It doesn't stay, but it's really good for rust prevention and, you know, at this point, just lubrication. Maybe I'll use Deep Creep instead, something that's a good lubricant for a little bit anyway. And every 10 hours, we're going to put some lubrication on the drive chains. Those are on each side of the wheel. And then wipe dirty old grease from the eccentric channel. That's 516A. So 516 is actually, there's 59. 516A. This channel, I guess, gets grease in it. That's what I'm wondering is, do we need to grease those? There's two fittings here. I'm not sure where they are. I think for best examination of the machine, we'd go ahead and take this cover off, because that lets us see all the good stuff inside. So in search of our Zork fittings, I can explain to you how the machine works. So this plate is motor driven, and when you engage the sickle bar, you engage this belt, and it turns, and as you can see down here, there's a little eccentric guy, and it slips back and forth in that groove and causes this bar to go back and forth. Now, one of the things you check for is the tightness of this to make sure that it's not too loose. I don't know how loose or not loose it's supposed to be, so we'll kind of just run with that till it breaks. Looks like this component is replaceable, and I know that is replaceable. Whether or not you can get parts, I don't know, but technically you could at the time. Then we come down to, we've got this essentially pivot bearing here, and it comes down here to this little ring, so that you can see that moves the bar back and forth. So that's basically how it runs, is the motor spins this big pulley, so we got a big gear reduction there. It throws this thing back and forth, and it throws this back and forth, and it runs our blades back and forth. So you can see where we're dealing with our friction points here. Now, so our mystery fittings are down here. This one on this shaft here, and that's our pivoting shaft that lets it kind of follow the ground contours. And then this one over here is actually for this guy going back and forth. And you can see some of the grease that's come out. It's kind of black, so I pumped it in there until it came out clean. Now, according to this is supposed to be greased. So we need to come in here and move it back and forth, and we will grease this up. And there's a bearing here, of course, and a bearing there, of course. What we'll end up doing, or what I'll end up doing, is we'll run it this way for now. But come re-season, we'll tear it apart. When I say the season is because I'd like to run it, but I tried to take this bolt out because you can actually take this M-bar assembly out with these. There's 4 screws on each side, or 4 bolts on each side, and then you can pull this whole assembly out and do service work to it, which is fine. I don't think it needs service work, but we'd like to look at it and inspect it. But I already broke that bolt immediately. Like I didn't even put much force on it. You can see how much leverage I have on my ratchet. So it's probably already been broken. So I'll run it for when I need it to, and then when we're done, we'll go ahead and tear it down. We'll also get a new belt. This one's starting to get frayed. It's old and cracked. So we got some stuff to do with it. But for now, on checking things, yeah, it's good. But what we are definitely going to do is, yeah, and that's completely dry. So that should have some grease on it. So let's just go ahead and start getting to town here. Of course, grease collects grass. I understand that part. But obviously, it's supposed to help it not wear out as quick. So I'll get it up there as far as I can. And I didn't see any grease points for the bearing here. So it might be one of those lifetime bearings, or we might talk about maybe taking that plate off and seeing how we are. Because in theory, you can totally disassemble this thing. That might be exactly what we need to do. So I'll get this guy to spin around in the hole a little bit for us, and I'll get that eccentric hole, or just this regular hole here, greased up. And I'm reaching from underneath my finger up into that channel and putting grease there. So as it's rolling back and forth and slamming in there, at least it's getting some lubrication. And there are Zerk fittings not mentioned right here on the wheels. And I'm guessing for when it freewheels, it uses those. So I'm gonna go ahead and grease those as well, just so it rolls easier and we're not wearing out the shafts on both sides. Now for the components that need light oil, like our chain and our sickle bar, I'm going to be using this stuff. Now this is not 3-in-1 oil. It says it on the container, but I just like the container. It's actually about 1/8 of this stuff, which is the oil stabilizer I keep mentioning about, which is really sticky. If you've ever dealt with it, it's really sticky. I mean, whenever you put it in there, it's always got ribbons of stuff. And the rest is 10W30 oil, so it's a light oil like that. So we're gonna apply that to the chain, which you can kind of see here. It looks like we're not gonna be able to rotate those unless we actually turn the engine over. So that's what we'll do. Looks like they've got grease holes here as well. And that's the only place to get a hold of that one, apparently. So interestingly enough, that's through the drivetrain. Oh, I see. And it ratchets back to that. So we'll just drip some oil on the chains here, and then I'm gonna oil the pivot points here as best I can, excessively with the oil here. And yeah, I'm just pretty much gonna oil everything. And that might reduce our effectiveness of cutting, but it'll let our blades, if they have never been lubricated in a while, be happy. Ultimately, I oiled my little switches up here. Not that, but the for my wheels, because there's a little bit of plastic wear here, up here on those joints, up here, drip down in the chain holes there, on the drivetrain there, drain hole there. And then on the front, quite a bit actually. I put a lob of oil on that thing because you know that's gotten wear. You can see on the top bar where these things rub, right there. So these obviously, and then anywhere there's a crevice. So along the whole sliding upper bar here along the back, and then on every blade on the bottom like so. Got all those. They don't necessarily rub, but you give her some RPMs and some quiet time, and I bet you she's going somewhere. And maybe put this bar back on because we'll need that. And what I actually should do is oil these two. We're gonna put those all the way down. So I don't necessarily want to, we're gonna be in some fields that have been eaten down by horses for sure, but we also wanna make sure that we don't hit anything we don't wanna damage. We just bought this thing, so we don't wanna hurt it yet. So we'll loosen those up, drag those down. I'll show you how to do that here in a second. We still gotta put gas and oil in it. I went over in the prior video how to undo these. It's kind of, it looks like a U, kind of a U clamp, or exhaust clamp. Yeah, there we go. That's the extreme. So bring it, if you push it forward, it kind of tilts up like that, so you're right on the ground, and as you bring it back, essentially it gets you more distance, pushes it back from the bar, and it also makes it slightly lower. So we're gonna go all the way, just because the grass, like I said, we're cutting, not that it's not safe, it's just, you know, let's make sure. I could use two hands to tighten this, but you get the idea, and I'll do the other side as well. We'll be all. We're back off the jack stands in the box. Now we're nice and level so we can put oil in it. Our level checked out good. We're about 3.5 inches on each side, so that's great. We're cooking there. Let's go ahead and put some oil in it. Probably guessing it's towards 3/4 quart. So what I'm gonna do is take my Lucas oil, put a good shot of it in here, and then we'll throw some oil in there and we'll just kind of check it until we get the right amount. We're fairly level, at least we're an operator level, right? Easy there, fella. Notice it tipped over, but nothing came out because this stuff is thick. Actually, I want to undo the top. And go ahead and put some of this molasses in there. It does all sorts of interesting things. Yeah, let's plug the hole right up. That's probably good for now. Probably going to change it here in a little bit, so. But that's just gonna coat everything in a slick, slippery, sluggety mess, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so while I was letting the oil level kind of settle down, because Lucas oil is sticky, and if you're using the same hole to fill, to measure with, it takes forever. So we are a hair over full, perfect. So we're good there, full of gas, lots of seafoam, lots of regular, brand new gas. So we're good there. So we're gonna leave it here, let it think about itself for a little while. I'm gonna go eat dinner, and then we're gonna go set up, get ready in field number 6 for us, horse pasture 6, which we don't have any horses anymore, but it's got lots of straw and hay in it. So let's go ahead and cut that down with this guy here. One of those girls. There you have it. That's probably an acre. That might be 200 yards by 100 yards maybe, actually. So half an acre. Took a little bit. It's this stuff is thick. And so what I discovered is that like here where the thorns were and it was thick, it was binding up. In other words, it couldn't get material out of the way fast enough that it was actually building up in a big ball in front of the machine. And when the grass is really thick, it's best to take half. Otherwise, it starts building up in front of the machine. And what I learned is that if you just lift the bar up off the ground, it'll actually pass under the machine and then you'll go right back to it. So there were some spots where, kind of like this, where there is some grass. And that's just because it had such a bad ball in front of it. But then other places like this over here, which looks like it might be standing, isn't. It's just all the dead grass. It's like there's so much dead grass there that it would sometimes group it up into balls and stuff. So fairly cool. I like it. We have, I don't know. We own 10 acres here. Of that, probably 4 to 5 are actually trees. And then we have the sheep and at least 2. So I'm probably have an actual like 4 acres to mow that we can maybe round up in the square bales and stuff. So hang out for more of those videos. But anyways, comments, questions, leave them. Subscribe to my channel, our channel, Red Barn Homestead. Probably be on that one. And also Turbo 231. Probably put it on that channel as well. So if you have any questions or anything, do that. And 20 seconds for cards.